In this module, we'll move from theory to real-world outcomes. You'll see where identity programs unlocked growth and trust, and where they failed, triggering backlash and risk. Along the way, we'll pull out practical patterns you can apply directly in your own context. Think of identity infrastructure like transportation for your digital economy. When identity is well designed, people, data, and services move smoothly. Users face low friction, regulators get transparency, and businesses unlock growth. When it's poorly designed, you get the equivalent of gridlock and bridge collapses, fraud at scale, exclusion of vulnerable groups, regulatory crises, and broken trust. The stakes aren't just technical, they're economic, social, and political. To evaluate any digital identity system, don't start with the technology. Use this six-dimension lens instead. First, goals. Is the system actually built to deliver the outcomes it claims? Then stakeholders. Who benefits, who bears the risk, and who holds power? Risk spans security, privacy, and systemic failure. Adoption looks at friction, usability, and who gets left out. Technology covers architecture and how modular or locked in it is. Finally, governance is the rules, oversight, and accountability holding everything together. Now let's see that lens in action. Picture an ecosystem with a single, secure national ID backbone, but many different doors into it. People enroll or access services through web portals, in-person desks, or mobile units that reach remote or marginalized communities. That core identity then unlocks hospitals, banks, and government services through consent-based layered data sharing. Around all of this, governance is crucial. Clear law, strong data protection rules, and independent oversight to keep power in check. Here, private triumph means strong identity checks without punishing good users. Risk-based authentication is the engine. Most people glide through with light checks, while high-risk sessions trigger heavier verification. That engine runs on signals, device fingerprints, behavior patterns, and history, used with explicit consent and clear privacy controls. User experience matters just as much as security. Verification is woven into onboarding, then continuously tuned using abandonment and fraud metrics, so you meet KYC rules without killing conversion. Think of systemic trust as a building. User-centric design makes it easy and respectful for people to participate. Federated architecture stops any single player from becoming a dangerous point of failure. Multi-stakeholder governance keeps power balanced and accountable over time. Incentive alignment ensures every participant actually wants the system to succeed and improve. In real digital identity programs, when even one of these pillars is weak, trust erodes, adoption stalls, and the whole structure starts to wobble. Now consider a very different story. A government rolls out a national digital ID, then quietly links it to welfare, SIM cards, and travel. Data collection is broad, purposes are fuzzy, and oversight is weak. Civil society spots the risks: exclusion, tracking, and abuse of power. Lawsuits, protests, and bad press follow. The lesson: unclear purpose, poor safeguards, and late stakeholder input almost guarantee a surveillance backlash. Identity and access management projects usually don't fail because the cryptography broke. They fail in the human and organizational layers. Overly complex access flows make everyday tasks feel like navigating a maze, so people look for shortcuts. Weak migration planning leaves old and new systems awkwardly glued together. With minimal frontline input and training, users quickly decide the new system is the enemy. That's when shadow IT, risky workarounds, and poor adoption explode. Across real identity initiatives, the patterns are consistent. Strong governance means shared oversight and clear escalation when something goes wrong. Weak governance means no one truly owns the problem. On privacy, success comes from collecting only what's needed with explicit consent. Failure comes from hoarding data and hiding how it's used. Technically, modular, risk-based flows outperform brittle monoliths. And inclusion improves when alternatives are designed in from the start, not bolted on later. Biometric systems also show this pattern of uneven impact. They can be extremely accurate for one demographic group while performing far worse for others, yet still look great on average. That gap is where harm happens. People in low-accuracy groups get locked out, flagged as suspicious, or blocked from critical services. Leaders see vendor benchmarks and miss the disparity. When the bias surfaces publicly, you're stuck retrofitting fixes under pressure instead of designing fairness in from day one. Automated debanking shows how an AI risk model can quietly become an identity gatekeeper. The model turns messy behavioral data into a single risk score, and that score effectively decides who is allowed to participate in the financial system. When the logic is opaque, people can't challenge mistakes, and entire groups get overflagged. Once that happens at scale, regulators don't just question the model, they question the institution's entire identity governance. Architectural guardrails turn "trust us, it works" into concrete obligations. First, fairness testing. Deliberately probe the model across demographics, channels, and edge cases, and fix issues before scale. Second, contextual explainability. People affected should grasp the main reasons behind a decision. Third, strong human-in-the-loop rules for high-impact outcomes. And finally, clear appeals pathways, so users can contest decisions and actually get them reversed when the system is wrong. Use these 4 questions as a reality check for any identity or AI initiative. First, be explicit about the problems you're solving and whose goals drive them. Second, surface your least empowered users and test designs from their perspective. Third, clarify end-to-end ownership and require independent audits of models and data. Finally, pre-map worst-case harms and define clear escalation and remedy paths before something goes wrong. Now translate this into a concrete plan inside your organization. First, name 2 or 3 strengths you already have around digital identity or AI governance and decide how to double down on them. Second, list 2 or 3 harmful patterns you absolutely want to block and where they might emerge. Finally, turn this into near-term actions with clear owners and dates, audits to run, experiments to launch, and stakeholders to engage. As you look ahead, anchor your decisions in 3 questions. Who might be excluded, and how do we bring them in by design? Who governs this architecture, and where do incentives misalign? And where is AI making decisions, and how do we make those choices visible, accountable, and reversible?